to start getting into some of the more recent conversation in retreat and in session, seems like the conversation to have at this moment is around instability, the nature of this. We could just call it a process for now. The nature of the process is we are looking to destabilize something. We're looking to destabilize the one who knows. We're looking to destabilize the system so that we can see where the system functions and where it's malfunctioning. This system of reactions, this system of beliefs, we could even call it a perspective, something that is like this outside eye that looks in or looks around. And the stability pieces that seem to come along with that show up as patterns, they show up as a sense of continuity. And those particular things, while not inherently good or bad or right and wrong, are what's creating this sense of struggle, because the sense of struggle has been patterned. It has been taken into account as something that is familiar and known. And in some strange way, we are embracing that because at least we know what it is. It's very akin to someone, let's say, that's in an abusive relationship and has an opportunity to leave. And they're faced with either stepping into this unknown, this void of experience, or staying with their abuser, but at least they know what it is. And what we find is, on average, we tend to stay with what we know, even if it's painful. So I know a lot of you who come to do sessions and have questions are often looking for ways to stabilize more. The thing is, if you are looking to stabilize, you may be stabilizing a system that is already essentially giving you a foundational sense of suffering and struggle. What we're really looking to do is destabilize the system. We're not necessarily saying we want to destabilize your life. We're not looking to throw you into chaos necessarily. But what we're looking to do is show you that you are already experiencing a considerable amount of chaos, but maybe disassociating from that. So this has to be disorienting. It has to be destabilizing. And in that destabilization, if you allow it to go all the way, if you allow it to be thorough, you will see that there is always something stable at the base of all reality. This consciousness that we're speaking to, this truest nature, however it is actually quite stable. But it's just not viewable by the mind, by this outside eye that wants to look in. And because it's not viewable that way, it feels unknown, and it tends to elicit a fear response. Fear is just the experience of what's unknown. It's just an alert system to tell you, I don't know. But what we tend to do is we have a relationship with that system that tells us, oh, we got to move desperately back into what we know, even if that's a painful experience, because unknown could be worse. It's a gamble. And all of us who point and who at least speak to this Dharma that we talk about, we are living testaments that you can step into the unknown and find something that you can't be without, that there really isn't a gamble taking place, even though it seems that way. And I know that the tricky part about this, which is actually a little bit challenging, is that you almost have to take that on faith. And that's one of the reasons that when we point to breadcrumbs, we point to things that are unfolding in real time in your existence right here, right now, because that way you don't have to depend on some potential result. You can see it in real time. You can start to experience whatever this is in real time. And so you will probably see that the majority of these pointings are pointing you to your immediate experience, direct experience, pointing you to sensation, pointing you to senses. And the senses themselves are demonstrating something. They're speaking the language of the infinite. The way that God speaks is through sensation. The way that it is very clear. It's an obvious thing, but because of the system of the mind, we tend to get caught up in that. So if you are looking for stability through this path, this might not be the path for you. especially because this path is not intended to stabilize any aspect of your identity. It is, in fact, designed to start to break those things apart, and that may give you a sense of discomfort. It's likely to give you a sense of fear. It's likely to bother something. And that's how that system is designed too. Everything actually works quite elegantly because that system is designed to alert you to deviations in the pattern. That's what the system does. Seeks, builds, identifies, defines, and basically is pattern oriented. That's what that system does. The identity is simply a system. It's a system of survival. It's also used as a system for social interaction, primarily social interaction. When a person goes into a cave, so to speak, or if you were to take a adventure into the Alaskan wilderness, and if you were to watch carefully, you would see aspects of the identity beginning to absolutely fall away because you're not using that system as often. It's often used in social interaction to curry social favor, to gain status, which is still a survival mechanism, but it seems to be primarily oriented around perspective with other human beings. And this is why in social groups, we tend to have what we could just call super identity. We have identity that seems to be individualistic, and then you get small groups together, and then narratives and triangulations and things like this are created, and then that group gains a super identity, and from there, it begins to kind of expand. You often see this in your own experience. Your family has an identity. Your first identity was actually familial. Your first identity didn't feel as, or wasn't as personal. It didn't feel as solid. It was based on this environment of these larger human beings and maybe larger siblings that were around you. This system is created familially, and then it kind of expands from there, and it becomes something within a culture or a tribe, and then it becomes something within a village or a city, and then it becomes something that's basically global civilization. We have these identities, these super identities. The stability of identity isn't anything other than reinforcing identity. And the trick here is, you've probably experienced that. Some of you out there actually have a very stable existence, and you wonder why you still have this acute sense of suffering or broad sense of suffering, however that appears for you. And it's because you have stabilized your identity, and the identity itself is the marker of suffering. And it's not that we want to eliminate identity. That's unrealistic and not really the case. What we want to do is see what it is. It's simply a system that runs, that serves some sort of relative practical purpose. And that is not ultimately what we are. And so to rely on that system as if we were that system and that system alone creates this sense of suffering. And it primarily gets us to reject sensation. It primarily gets us to soothe something that it cannot understand, thoughts can't feel. So this is just a reminder that if you are seeking some kind of stability, that framework is going to just drive you right back into this recursive experience of re-identification. And you've probably had this experience multiple times throughout your existence. To hold up this sacred cow, to have this false idol, is this basically displacement of experience for something else. That's the nature of identity. We fundamentally want to destabilize that identity, to sit with something that cannot be destabilized. We fundamentally want to let that identity get shaken up, to get fired up, to essentially break, to run into obstacles. We want these experiences to reach a pinnacle, a peak, so that it begins to break down. And in that breaking down, something remains that stays and is absolutely positioned in this experience of well-being. It's the best way to put it at this moment. We want that system to fall apart. And there's obviously a variety of ways for that system to fall apart. Primarily, what we want is to demonstrate that just by seeing it, you will start to glean insight. Just by witnessing and observing and refusing to participate in that system, you will start to have some insight. That's what meditation does primarily. You will see some sort of interfacing between sensation and thought and identity and beliefs and all these things. You will start to see it. The primary thing that we can all start to do right here, right now, and this is just a broad pointing, is limit stimulation. The more often you can limit this externalized sense of stimulation, entertainment, usage of your phone, all of these things that are quite addictive, you will have to sit with something that maybe feel uncomfortable initially, but will start to destabilize something. It'll start to destabilize that which is constantly needing to consume because you're not feeding it. And if you're not feeding it, it's going to start to reveal something. It tends to tell on itself. So this is just a reminder for all of you. If you are looking for stability, then you are really, what you're looking for is re-identifying. That which is looking for stability, in that case, is looking for re-identification. Also, not saying anything negative about stability in general. Of course, a stable existence is probably a more balanced existence, but it's a false stability is really what we're pointing to. The identity itself is actually not stable. It gives you the illusion of stability, and that's why that dissonance and that distortion keeps wrecking us. Because fundamentally, there is something right here, right now that knows that something isn't matching up, that there's like this push-pull, this splitting, this stretching, this tearing apart. So we want to destabilize the identity. Now, for those of you that are listening to this and have a sense of destabilization in general, then we want to destabilize that system of destabilization as well, which for some of you may look like more types of practical stabilization. It can be tricky this way. But I would say for the majority of human beings that come and do sessions that are looking for some sense of peace and stability, that right there is one of the ultimate tricks being played. For those of you who are in a deep state of maybe struggle and things along those lines, a little bit of stability can be useful for you. So it's not quite a universal pointing, but even destabilized lifestyle is a form of stability because the identity wants to stick to what it knows, what is predictable, and what is predictable is satisfying. And what is satisfying gives it a charge. Gives us that little dose of dopamine, that identity that is all about that dopamine. So hopefully this opens things up. Hopefully those of you out there that are listening to this video that are recognizing that you're looking for some sort of stability or maybe resting in stability, but still knowing that something isn't quite aligned. Because the truth is when it comes to awakening, you just know. You don't even have a measurement stick. It's not something that's measurable in such a way, but it's like a type of knowing that isn't intellectualized. It's a felt knowing. It's a vast type of knowing. It's the best way to describe it. This is something that's very difficult to speak about because we don't have a way to encapsulate it, but I promise you will know when you know. You would just know. So even if you feel like you are awake and you've kind of landed on something, just look again. And this is not a challenge to say that you're not, but look again. And I'm saying this because those of you who actually are fully engaged in this never-ending unfolding won't even need to look again because you're always looking. It's like that. But for those of you that are listening to this and having a sense of, well, this kind of background thought of, oh yes, I'm awake, I have it all down. That right there is another trick. It's creating another sense of identity of stabilization there. Ultimately, it's this strange experience of somehow being stable and unstable simultaneously because the nature of this universe seems to function this way. And often the way that tends to show up is that we start by feeling extremely uncomfortable, and then we somehow become comfortable in that being uncomfortable. So we are comfortably uncomfortable. That's kind of how that paradox tends to arise. We're never comfortable removed from because comfort is simply a signal of soothing. If you are existing in a place of comfort and that's the only thing that's arising, then there's a likelihood that there's still disassociation occurring. This is a challenge, being very direct to you. If you notice these experiences that still seem rich and vivid, yet you seem to be completely engaged with those, then you are probably right in the midst. And like I said, when you know, you know. It's the only way to really say it. It's just obvious, extremely obvious. I would say the nature of all awakening is it's obvious. The experience that people report around always knowing this, but somehow something new, and that just seems obvious, that really kind of sums it up. So hopefully this will spawn some sort of investigation, some further exploration and play. And as always, questions, comments, things like that are welcome, and I will be a little bit more engaged at this point. So thank you for watching, and talk to you soon.